You ever feel like reality is messing with you? Like you know something is off, but everyone around you acts like you're crazy? What if I told you that gaslighting isn't just something people do? The simulation itself gaslights you into staying stuck. Welcome, everyone, to the magical frequency. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the idea of gaslighting and how this reality is potentially one big gaslight in and of itself, and how we have all been gaslit up until this point. If you are new here, my name is Chrissy. I am a simulation theorist, so thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope liking this video so I can hit the algorithm, and please subscribe. Learn how to basically take the cheat codes in the simulation and be able to live our very best lives that we intended to come down here. The concepts here on the internets regarding manifestation all ring true with my simulation theory. It all makes sense. The law of assumption, the law of attraction, everything related to all of the information from the Kabbalion, all of that, if you take it into account and start really heavily researching it, you will see that the reality that we're currently living in has been a very gaslight experience, so to speak. We are brought up thinking that certain things need to be a certain way, that we are victims, that we do not have control over the external circumstances. Or the internal always reflects the external, and that's where it all starts. Talk about how the simulation, not only the simulation, but other people within the simulation, NPCs within the simulation, so many different concepts and ideas that are programmed upon us from a very young age that we should take a deeper dive on and understand how we have been convinced into a reality that may not be the true actual reality that we are able to maneuver in. But the term gaslighting works by making you doubt your own reality. Gaslighting can occur across any type of area in your life. Usually it starts out with a lie, and then the lie ends up snowballing into a gaslight situation. Gaslighting goes on all the time, and that's why it is such a big term being thrown around the intranets last few years. To dive into this, to exclusively talk about how there's a bigger thing going on here at play. There's a bigger deception going on in front of every one of us, and until we unveil that deception, we will continue to be snails. 50, the priestess suggests, we will stay asleep, if you will. Let's dive into some of these different ways that we are being just fooled into thinking that this reality is something that it isn't. And it mostly has to do with control and fear over mass population. So those that are able to take control stay with that control. One of the things that we have a tendency to think is that we're just a regular person stuck in one reality with limited options. But deep down, you feel it's not true. Synchronicities, deja vu, and gut feelings prove that reality isn't what they say it is. Yet the moment you try to talk about shifting manifestation or reality, what happens usually? People will just say things like, it's just a coincidence, you're overthinking it, be realistic, be logical, etc., etc. Does this sound familiar? This is gaslighting on a large scale. It is the simulation having these NPCs walking around convinced that these things will not work for them. It's another veil that is able to keep us asleep. We are able to consciously elevate out of that specific pattern or modality of thinking. That type of thinking does produce results, I believe, but it seems as though the people that have really like 10, 100x results think in this way. On a bigger scale, this ends up making us doubt our power and what we can actually do or what we have control of in this environment around us, in our circumstances, in our day-to-day, in what is our reality. Society at large uses so many different techniques to attention grab, to keep us asleep. Things like scrolling, fear-based news, and other systems that are out of your control that make you feel powerless. Often told that we have free will, but do we really? Or do people even understand what that concept even means? Do we have free will? Just running on these subconscious scripts that have been written for them ever since they were younger. Whatever it is that is familiar to their generational line, many folks could be out here doing things that they no longer want to do, but because they were programmed by their parents, by society, by any type of just gain that was seeming at the time something that was enticing enough for them to pursue something that was not necessarily in alignment with who they truly were. Are we really choosing when we think about it this way? If you think about your entire life at large, did you choose everything you really would have wanted to chosen from the beginning? Or were you choosing things based on what was put into your heart for fear? If you were told that you needed to go to school for certain things, told that you needed to go into certain career paths, if you were told that you could only make money a certain type of way, did this shape or alter your decisions? Were all of your decisions truly your decisions pure at heart, to where you felt aligned with whatever actions and thoughts and just things that you were sending vibrationally out to the simulation? Or was it something that you were doing because you felt like it was the correct thing to do by societal standards, or by somebody else telling you that this was the correct thing to do? Think about something like the looping effect. Notice patterns repeating in your life, the same types of toxic relationships, same types of financial struggles over and over again. Simulation running on code because you basically are not upgrading the vibration or frequency, or just understanding that there's other options to be had. You are not opening up the other availabilities to be had. For example, in my reality at one point, I was making a certain amount of money, and once I recognized that I could be making much, much more, I took aligned actions and then was able to double my income, so to speak, in a very, very short period of time, simply because I changed my mindset on my work, on what I was doing, on how much I could be making, taking into account just everything with the power of awareness that I know that I have in the simulation. Jobs would reach out to me on LinkedIn with fantastic job offers all the time, especially when I was in that frame of mind where I knew that I was in control. And it's like everybody is you pushed out. You send out those vibratory signals of I'm ready to receive connections in my life, and then they start to automatically come in, if you will, on that same old frequency of I'm only ready to accept the same old. You will continue to accept the same old. I like to be in a mind frame of always expanding, but that is also hard as well. All of this work is something that is ongoing, it is effortless to a certain degree, because once you start to understand how it all functions, things do become less fearful for you and start to become willing to see other opportunities, see other experiences that are potentials for you. You basically be able to see all the potentialities over your life and identify those loops and see where you're looping behavior, and then reshift that so you can move on to a new life track, if you will, or move on to a bigger and better scenario, or just 2 or 3x whatever you're doing if you want to in your life. And that could be in any area. I'll dive into that in just a little bit. Like the false proof of reality. Have you ever had like a really large manifestation come in, and then you know it is something that you made happen for yourself, but people around you kind of crap on it, or they make you feel as if it's not real, and that will dampen your sense of power. That's why they also say like not to tell people about goals or your manifestations, because people will take their doubts, fears, and whatever and place it upon you, and could be placing seeds of doubt into your mind you could unintentionally attach to. You could start visualizing scenarios that you don't want to happen because somebody is giving you their perspective on something, and then you're running with that story and then vibrating on the frequency of not having that thing, or whatever story that you may be listening to somebody else telling you about that specific thing. And that is not the case. You have to stay strong to your own things that you want to attract, or whatever you want to make unseen in the simulation around you. Make your holographic simulation unfold in front of your eyes. Whatever the next scenario that you are imagining, that's what you want to envision all the time. You don't want people to make you think that it is not possible, because then it will send you back into that vibratory pattern of it is not possible. That's why it's very important to, in my opinion, keep an optimistic mindset when you are doing things of this nature, when you are into this type of different way of looking at reality, and also just understanding that not everybody is on the same level of understanding, or they do not see the value in certain things because they do not have the power of focus. They do not have the power of awareness. They do not, or rather, they don't recognize it. They don't recognize it, that all they would have to do is just tweak a couple of things in their power of focus and imagination, and take micro actions that would make these huge differences in their lives. But because everything in our reality is so deceptive, it is so easy to keep you in that cheat mode, that gaslit reality where you are helpless, where you are a victim, where you are subject to your circumstances, etc., etc. Relation is not your enemy here. It's not trying to deceive you on purpose. It is a deceptive machine by nature. It is neutral by nature. The simulation doesn't care. It's just running on whatever code it is that you are programmed into. So if you have all of these different people around you attempting to code your thoughts, actions, everything that you are emitting, the words you speak, you will be coded in such a way. You need to always be in your own mind, focused on the things that you want to see unfold in the reality in front of you. If you're focused on social media, if you're focused on politics, if you're focused on news, if you're focused on all of these other things on a consistent and ongoing basis, a lot of these things are fear program based. And that's another thing you just have to recognize about social media. It is intended to keep you hooked into the cycle. It wants to have you coming back to the algorithm to be able to have you consume more and more, to make more and more sales. It's as if when you go into a casino, it is pumping oxygen into the air. It is trying to get you to come into the free buffet. It is trying to get you to stay. I can't remember what it's called right now. It basically made the people want to stay inside of this casino or this fun land for just ever and ever and ever. And it's all you're doing there is just consistently paying your attention, focus, and money to the man or whatever, to whoever it is outside of yourself, to the simulation at large, to somebody else's sense of reality. So until you recognize that all of these things are entertainment in the simulation, you take these things overboard, just like the pendulum, like the Vadim talks about, swinging it too far to the left or to the right. The simulation likes balance. It doesn't like weeble wobble. It doesn't want you to be going too far down certain chutes, because in my opinion, oftentimes when that happens, and ourselves and maybe situations that we were not expecting to find ourselves in. Flip the script if the simulation is gaslighting us indeed. Trust our inner reality over our external validation. We have to know that no matter what we are focusing on, that it will play out in front of us in the screen of life, as long as we stay consistent with that focus, with the imagination towards whatever reality we're looking to achieve. Understanding that emotions and intuitions play into this, following your intuition, following your emotions insofar as when you like something, going with that. Have an internal GPS system that is helping you navigate the sim, but that there is fear, and if you allow fear to take over your GPS, you will never want to do anything, or you will always be trying to take the risky route, and that may never land you in the reality that you actually are trying to persist in. You want to have the belief that you have the power and conviction to do whatever it is that you want to do, to do whatever it is that you say that you want to do. Other ways that just in general about work, the simulation has convinced us at large that we need to adhere to, or just different thoughts or different ways of thinking that we need to have programmed into us. And this is not necessarily the case. For example, hard work is the only path to success, and that's not always the case. Smart people leverage and often use strategy to outweigh sheer effort. And this is true. I'm sure you can think of many ways that this is true. You're just not working hard enough. And the reality is the system is designed to extract maximum productivity while keeping you dependent. And things like your job is your purpose. That is not true. Oftentimes people get sucked into thinking that their career is going to be their end all be all. And if you think like this, you may turn around and look at your life and not be pleased with that. To an employer will pay off. Oftentimes that's not the case anymore. In corporate America, they'll throw your ass out and you will be fired, and they will be looking for somebody new. So that whole loyalty thing has started to crumble through the last, 20, 30 years. It's not what it used to be, and we need to start to shift these paradigms and understand that there's different ways of ingesting this information, and not completely thinking that these old patterns are going to continue to serve us. Retirement is a reward for a life of hard work. And the reality is you could be trading the best years of your life for a promise of freedom, and then you could be too tired to actually experience it when you are way too old. So these are just other ways to think about these consistent things that society likes to feed us. And how about the idea of drugs, alcohol, and other habits in the 3D? This is just a moment to understand that you don't need these. I often lied on these when I was younger, especially alcohol, to have a good time when you were out drinking. But at the end of the day, these things do not provide you with the longer term benefits. For example, sober people are boring. That's not true. You can have excitement in so many different ways. It doesn't have to be anybody that is going out and drinking all the time is the only way to have fun with somebody. Drinking is a part of adulthood. Me, I feel like a lot of people normalize it as a coping design in our society, and it's very easy to do that on a day-to-day basis or on a weekend-to-weekend basis. Go out and just drink a ton of alcohol and not have to worry about whatever it is that's happening, during the week or whatever. And at the end of the day, these types of just societal thoughts or norms hinder us because they break down our ability to cognitively discern in the 3D here. If you're always drinking all the time, it's very difficult to be able to maintain homeostasis in your body and to be able to allow the neuro pathways to continue to strengthen and be able to send the signals out to the simulation. If you are always in a state of intoxication, you may not be doing all of the things that you want to do, accomplishing all of the goals, and then just to boot, there's other things that this usually has a domino effect on. You could potentially land yourself in trouble, etc., etc. So it's just these societal norms that we need to break away from. And how about relationships? There's so many different ideas about what relationships need to be. Some people think that they need to be a fairy tale. Some people think that, love is completing you, or that you need to settle before you get too old. There's so many different ideas about love and relationships that we need to break free from. You need to just do what works best for you. That's why it's really important to go within and not allow the external things to seep too much into your subconscious, because your subconscious is what is running on autopilot. You don't want your Raz seeking out for unrealistic scenarios that are not conducive to living your best life. You don't want your Raz seeking out, partners or seeking out scenarios that you don't want to occur. And when we consume all of this information or just dramatic stuff on the internet or just other people's lives, thinking that certain things in love lives need to be a certain way, we start to paint pictures in our subconscious, and then it can interfere with what you truly intend and desire in your life. That's why it's really important to get clear on what you want and stay focused on it, and to not also be obsessed with it. That's a component of all of this in the simulation, is not to become obsessed with anything, because it feels like when you become too overly obsessed or attached to something, is it, or any type of obsession, any type of feeling of just like over obsession for something, tends to keep that in a state of obsession, not a state of receiving. You need to be in the state of receiving, not in the state of obsession. Because if you are in the state, say you won something, but you are obsessed with obtaining it, and you have like this thing where it's like you will stop at nothing to have this thing, like that has an energy to it. You want to be in the energy of, I know this thing is mine, and it's mine. It's coming to me, and that's the energy. It's mine, and I'm receiving it. That's the energy. It's not an obsession energy. It's the energy of, this is due for me, and it's coming to me, and it will be here. Because if you live in the obsession energy, you will continue to live in the obsession energy. You need to live in the energy that, this is for me, it's here, thank you very much. That's it. And then you go about your business. Focus on what you want, of course, but in a fun and lighthearted way, not in a way that feels freaky or scary or weird or uncomfortable. Move on to the do something and do nothing camps in this whole deceptive world of the simulation and this whole experience that we've been gaslit the entire time. Do you need to actually work in the simulation to have manifestations come before your eyes? Do you need to work for the scene to come into the unseen? Can you sit and do nothing? Can you just sit in pure awareness and have manifestations just fly into you? Is that possible? Yes, absolutely. But there are two camps and there are two different styles of thinking for this. If you are interested in a do something camp, somebody that takes a lot of action here, I have a fellow YouTuber that I do like to consume his content because he is a great 3D business coach. His name is RC Robert. I will leave him in the description below. So if you are interested in somebody that is for the do something camp, check him out. However, there is also the do nothing camp, and there's a lot of do nothing camps out here. I'm not sure who to even suggest for this because so many people have like do nothing videos. There's another YouTuber I do consume here as well. His name is Javier. I can leave his channel in the description below as well. But essentially there are two different camps here. Some of these individuals feel as though you can just automatically align to the thing that you want, the vibratory thing that you want, and then take very minimal action. It's work for people, and I'm not claiming that it doesn't, because it has worked for me and I have made it work for smaller manifestations. But when I look at the camp of people that do something, I generally, especially if they're saying that they do nothing but they have 5,000 videos on their channel, you can't be in the camp of do nothing then. You're doing something. You're making 5,000 videos, so that has to be the do something camp. So it is impossible for you to be in a do nothing if you actively see whoever it is doing all of these things for themselves. They're obviously not in the do nothing camp. They may be doing nothing behind the scenes more than your average bear, but they're doing something. Whatever the something that they're doing is more aligned with whatever it is on the trajectory of their simulation. So they're taking actions that are getting them like 2 and 3x in their reality, because that is what is in the action that is in alignment with them. In a certain business and you are taking aligned action to, maybe you're in a tire business and you are purchasing stocks of tires, you are not going to go out and purchase a bunch of engines. You are not in the engine building field. So why would you go and do actions, just unaligned action? That's when things become burnout. That's when things become crazy. That's when it becomes this manifestation shit doesn't work, because you're taking action that doesn't make any effing sense with the actual work or whatever it is goal that you're supposed to be in alignment with, and you may or may not recognize it. And if you don't recognize it, that's why like life coaches exist and like business coaches exist. That's probably why, you know, they got psychics out in these streets, because people can help you or whatever see the other possibilities or the other perspectives in your life that you just can't see because you are not having the awareness to it. You might be somebody that has all these potentialities, but because you are not aware of them, you are not actualized maybe, or you are not to the level of seeing those opportunities, you are asleep to them and you are not maximizing them, or you are not folding them into then the potentiality or the possibility or an actuality in the 3D for yourself. So there are two different camps here. Can you be in bed meditating, being in the awareness all the time? Yeah, that's like monks do this. They don't need anything. They feel they don't have any desires, have gone above and transcended all worldly possessions. And I am not of that status. I don't feel like I've come here to do that. I feel like I can do that when I die, be on monk status or whatever. So while I'm here, I can do whatever it is that I want to do to be able to have a really good time, of course, and fulfill whatever I feel like I did to come down here, and then also help those around me plant seeds of awareness so they all can do the same thing with their fabulous lives as well. Wake up to the fact that we have all been gaslit at large by the simulation, by society, by this whole idea that there's so many different ways to think about something, and that you are required to conform to think about whichever way somebody else does. And that is just not the case. You are uniquely allowed to think about anything in relation, especially to your specific reality, in which ways you want to. And you are able to mold how you want your life for you. If you look around your life right now, is in direct proportion to all of your internal thoughts, actions, and dialogues, actions then you took in the 3D, and how everything that you have been doing thus far, your simulation has showed you. That is what your current life is. And if you pull back the veil, recognize all of these things that we've been gaslit into thinking, you can 10x your life, do things you want to do, stop buying into the conformity of society, just live your very best life. Just gonna wrap this up with a summarization of how to actually get everything you want to in this reality. Things that you are thinking about, imagining, visualizing, talking about, singing about, thinking about in the shower, thinking about while you're blending your breakfast, thinking about when you're in the bathroom, thinking about when you're talking to anybody around you. What are the things that you are doing? What are you paying focus to? What is your awareness always on? Everything that is going on inside of you, your avatar is like an energetic being, is constantly emitting these electro signals, like electromagnetic signals or something. You're sending out signals with every thought, action, with every visualization, with every intention, with all the words that you're speaking, all of like everything that you're doing, every step you take, every move you make, like everything you're doing sends out this vibrational message to the simulation. And what happens is that it builds up like a snowball. Talk about often your prime resonant frequency. What are you resonating on all the time? Are you resonating on your goals all the time? Or are you resonating on other people's goals all the time? And it means everything. What actions are you taking towards your goals? What different mechanisms are you thinking about as you're falling asleep? It is a 24/7 game. You are a vibratory creature walking around in a simulation that is literally sending out vibratory codes to this machine that interprets your holographic reality, and it spits out onto the screen in front of you. We are all living in the Earth simulation, so we are all plugged into the same vibratory environment, if you will. We are on the same reality of Earth. Mean that all of your thoughts, actions will immediately transmit. Have they for me before? Absolutely. And you can check out that video, but that is accessing the simulation in its raw state, and most of us are not able to do this, on a consistent and ongoing basis. Many of us are not and will not be able to, because I don't believe the simulation wants to be understood in this fashion, nor wants to be controlled or have the ability to. This is like above guru, that they're able to like float and vibrate themselves on other statuses in front of people without the assistance of any type of, hallucinogens or I don't know. But the bottom line is this: we have ongoing control. We just have to assume it, believe it, know it, move in it, and it will start to literally shift for you. And this means doing all of the things that are in vibrational alignment with the reality that you are seeking to exist in. And if you don't know what that is, you can copy people. That's why people say, be delusional. People use the act of delusionality because you are in pretending mode. The simulation does not understand the difference between you pretending what you're sending out vibrationally or whether or not it's freaking real to you. If you are pretending to act like a millionaire 24/7, you are sending those signals out. Whether or not you truly understand what it feels like to be a millionaire, you are embodying it because you looked at millionaires, you are going into expensive stores, you are walking around expensive houses, you are doing all of the things that make you feel like a millionaire and not doing the things that make you not feel like a millionaire. And you actually legitimately do feel that way. You are faking it till you make it, so to speak. That's why that works for people, because the simulation doesn't know the damn difference. So you can emulate whoever it is that you want to. An imaginary character, that's why other people take on personas, because they can have the power of imagination over that other persona that they believe is outside of themselves, and then they can shift their sim. They're not recognizing that it's just another component of the personality that you would like to have in your repertoire, if you will. Static alignments for the simulation. It's almost like you can have one avatar, so to speak, but you can have different personas for that avatar, and those different personas can actually manifest for you different things. That's why people in the state akin to sleep can go into the field and talk to other people or other forms of consciousness, go back and talk to Benjamin Franklin, I don't know, just be able to use these personas to unlock the sim for yourself, pull in the unseen to the seen, whatever it is for yourself. Just know that you have the power and that this is all one grand illusion and deception. And once you recognize this, you no longer have to fear things the same way you did before. I'm not saying that you shouldn't fear like throwing yourself off the side of a cliff, but you shouldn't fear taking risks that you want to, taking risks that you know could get you to your next best step. And everything is a lesson learned. It's just an experience to be had in the sim. And that's why we all came down here, to have an infinite number of experiences. And if you feel a hunch pushing you towards an experience, it's because experience is meant to be had by you. Understood now how to go into your reality, pull back the veil of deception, no longer continue to be gaslit into this reality that you are not the one that's in control and that you don't have the power to be able to persist in whatever state of reality that you want to. I know you all enjoyed this video because there is nothing else quite like this out on the intranets. And until the next time, guys, may you all continue to manifest magic and resonate on your highest frequency. Bye, guys.